give everyone a few minutes to jump on. I'm Kim with Texas Vintage Addiction. Thanks for joining me today. Again, Kim from Texas Vintage Addiction. We have two shops. One is in Belton, Texas at 6th Street Antiques, and the other is in Temple at the Hub. And you should come and check us out. So what we're doing today is we are working on dresser drawers. We worked on the drawer handles last week, so we're just going to kind of fine tune the drawers today. I went ahead and started all of them with the slick stick. I originally was going to go with a darker color. So I mixed some caviar with slick stick and waited for it to dry 24 hours. But then yesterday I didn't like the darker color, so I ended up going Rebel Yellow. So it's going to take a couple of coats to cover this slick stick. Again, I tinted this slick stick. You can tint your slick stick up to 10%. So it shouldn't ever really be a dark color. Like this is caviar and it's still pretty light. So let's get started with the Rebel Yellow. Again, it's this color right here. I have it in a squirt bottle. With these drawers, it's always really important to clean them with White Lightning. And you slick stick if you have to. Sometimes you'll see like where a candle or perfume or something has spilt. If that's the case and it doesn't come out with White Lightning, sometimes you'll even have to boss it. So it's always good to wait when you're doing the inside of dresser drawers. Time is your friend. Don't ever rush, because then you're gonna get bleed throughs and in weird places, and so you're just always gonna want to let it sit overnight and come back to it. And sometimes even a week later, you may see some oil somewhere that somebody spilled something in the drawer. Why I paint? I don't always paint the bottom of drawers, but this isn't like high end. This is like 80s or 90s French professional dresser, and I saw a lot of pressed wood. It was very obvious that it was pressed wood on the bottom. You can see this is pressed wood right here, but the sides of the drawers are actually wood. So what we're doing. That's why I do the bottoms, if it's pressed wood or if it's really stained. Sometimes I'll line it with wallpaper or decoupage paper, but this isn't, like I said, this was made with some pressed wood, and I don't want to spend a whole lot of time or money in it, so I am just going to paint the bottom. I did tape it off because it's very important to tape it off. So far we've got White Lightning. We've got the slick stick, diluted 10% with a paint color of your choice. And I started out with darker. Now we're going lighter because, I changed my mind a lot. So I'm going to paint the inside of this drawer, Rebel Yellow. I think it'll look good against the rest of the colors here. So I do like taping off the drawer. That way, if I get a little messy, it's okay. Again, had I thought about using a lighter color instead of a darker color, I probably wouldn't have tinted my slick stick so dark. I probably would have stayed with it white, because if I'm using yellow, it would have been a great base. I do like the Scarlet brush for this because it's so wide. Just kind of a nice wide brush here. It's flat, gets into the corners nicely. To spray it a little bit. This up. Might be easier to paint that way. Okay, this will take 2 coats. I did get a little bit of Rebel Yellow where I didn't want it. So I'm going to clean that off. Alright. So that's my first coat. I'm going to do the sides. Again, tape is your friend. But let's see. Hey, Amber. Hey, Amanda. Hey, Robin. Good to see y'all. Thanks for joining me today. What color is that? It is Rebel Yellow. Oh, you're from Georgia? I grew up in Georgia, actually. I grew up in Columbus. Good to see you. I was born in Athens, but raised in Columbus. Go Bulldogs. I do like Rebel Yellow. I think it's very cheery. Again, I taped right here. Okay, so that's my first go. So let's move on to the other drawers because the other drawers are already semi-prepped. This one was not. Alright, so part 2, to kind of fancy up the drawers, remember. Alright, so we are Central Texas, where one of my antique stores is like a block away from a local university. And, you know, they are always looking for deals. So, you know, because when you're in college, sometimes, you know, money is tight. And so not everything has to be high end, but they want it to look good. And so while this is still a well-built dresser, it does have some press board. So I'm trying to save cost. So I'm going to use the silk screen stencil, but I'm not going to use transfers or decoupage papers. It's all just going to be paint. Not why, and then this one coming out. All right. So step 2, I got my Rebel Yellow, and I'm going to do some pearlescent stripes. So I taped it off. The easiest way to tape it off is, I'll show you in the third drawer. This is like no foam stripes. Alright, so see. Alright, so I'm gonna move around. Here's how I do my stripes. Of course, on camera it's always more difficult. It always looks more difficult than it is. So I'll lay my first piece of tape down. So that's stripe 1. And then I don't ever measure anything off. I just lay another piece of tape down. And that's the width of my stripe right there. So I'll start with, I got kind of bent. What's on me? Put it at the bottom. Alright, so that's my first stripe right there. And then I'll lay this same piece of tape down again. Get another piece of tape. Normally I only do this to the top drawer. I'll paint all the drawers. I painted all the drawers Rebel Yellow, but really only the first couple of drawers. Usually only the top drawer gets the special stripes. And so that's how I build my stripes. Of course, if they didn't go all the way down, I'd have to fill that piece in. When you're doing the stripes, you're going to want to tuck your corners down. Alright, so that's how I do stripes. I'm not going to do stripes on the third drawer though, so I'm not going to finish this, but that's how I did the first stripes. Alright, so let's go back to the second drawer. Alright, so no bleed through stripes. My base coat is Rebel Yellow. My next coat, I'm going to paint Rebel Yellow over my stripes. This will kind of seal in the tape and avoid bleed through of the actual color you want to paint the stripes. So I should stand this up so y'all can see it. Let's see. I like Rebel Yellow too. College kids do leave a lot of furniture behind. But they're pretty cool. They've got it's a good group. It's a local Christian university, and they are just fabulous kids. My mess. I'm going to need some more Rebel Yellow here. I use Rebel Yellow quite a bit on the inside of drawers. It makes me happy. Yellow always kind of brightens the day, it seems like. Okay, so while we let this dry, we are going to do the sides of the drawers. And then we'll come back over this with pearlescent glaze. But because this is sealed, if I wanted to, I could go back over this with my dresser. Is kind of a, it's kind of a light green. The colors I used are antebellum on the bottom and farmhouse green, sea glass, and haint. And so here's some antebellum. This was some farmhouse green. This is heavier farmhouse green, but the bottom, the further you get down on the dresser, the more antebellum you see. But it's not, it's a diluted antebellum. Diluted with farmhouse. Let's see. So we'll start with drawer number 1. So I really debated, oh wait, not drawer number 1 because there's no roll yellow on that side. We'll start with drawer number 2. Yeah, this is the ones we just painted stripes on. As you can see, when we get a dresser, we always number it. That way we can pull the drawers out. Please don't forget that step. We learned the hard way over time. That is just step number 1. Let's see. So we're gonna use silk screen stencil. This is from the floral pack, which I actually don't have on me, but I do have pieces of it. The flowers were really pretty. This pack comes like 3 sheets to a pack, and you can reuse them up to like 12 times. I haven't used this particular stencil yet. I always cut mine. If I had scissors, I'd probably trim this even more. And it's easier to work with. You never want to throw the back of this away, so you can stick it back on. And I concluded earlier that I wanted the large part of the flower to go here. Now when I do silk screen stencils on like cinch door dressers, I'll do the outside but not the inside section. So I'm not reusing it 12 times, I'm just reusing it on each drawer the outside once. Up. Did y'all see that? That wasn't supposed to happen. That's never happened before, but obviously I didn't stick it on very well. Okay, so let's rub it down real well this time. Okay, so let's get the mousse out. I did start this mousse earlier. I love using the gold. The silver is pretty. There's a, I want to say garnet, or is it amber that's more red? There's a real pretty red. It's almost like a copper. There's another one that's copper. I did stir this up because sometimes it still needs a little stirring. So when you open it, especially your gold, sometimes it's real cakey. And I just stirred this up like an hour ago and it's still not mousse. So I'm finding a stir. So what I like to do is use a paintbrush, and you're just gonna want to stir it up. It needs to look like pudding. If it doesn't look like pudding, then you haven't started up enough. See, now it's kind of pudding-ish. The gold is really bad about when you open it, it's going to look cakey. But stir it up and it'll be fine. This one's a little older. I've had it for a while because they last forever. I think I opened this when they first came out. When was that? Like 6 or 7 months ago. So I have had to add water, a little bit of water, to this one the last couple of times I've opened it. Just because it's kind of drying out on me. All right, so let's make sure we get those air bubbles out. And what I love about the silkscreen stencils is I don't have to worry about bleed through a whole lot. Not with these. Now, since this is a chest of drawers, I'm going to have to do both sides. Well, I don't have to, but I think it'd look better if I did this little screen stencil on both sides. I'm trying to work it in here. You don't want to use, well, I find that the mousse is easier to use than the gilding wax. Okay, so let's see. There's that. So let's spin it around. So it's the garnet that's more red. That's what I thought. I thought it was. It's a pretty red, but wouldn't necessarily look great with these colors. Let's put all this in the middle. All right, so I'm gonna kind of smooth it out. If I had my thingamajig, right? The new little tool that they came out with, it would help with smoothing these out. Okay, so now let's get some gold on here. I can tell mine is a little older because it's kind of, or maybe I didn't stir it well enough because I do see some little lumps in it. You don't want your mousse lumpy. Alright, so that's drawer 2, both sides. And I would do this on all, because this is just drawers, I'm going to do this on every drawer, both sides. When you do wash your stencil, you want to wash it the painted side down, the sticky side. You're going to want to preserve, make sure it's up, and then after it dry, you're going to dry it this side, sticky side up, and then put it back on its sheet. I'm going to spray some water on it. Here's my water. Okay, so I'm gonna let that soak a minute. Alright, with the gilding wax, I feel like the gilding wax is too harsh for the silk screens, but I love it to accentuate some of the hardware for my Alright. I would like to kind of add some gold. Trying to open it. Alright. Alright, so the gilding wax is thicker than the mousse. You can use the mousse for this as well. So what I like to do is get some on my brush and kind of like to blob it in. So kind of like to pounce it a little bit. And then I'm just going to slightly highlight some gold to kind of match the sides, but I don't want it, kind of want it to look aged, like it's been there forever and just kind of faded. So I'm going to do the other side. This kind of gives it kind of a unique look. So let me show you a close-up of that. So it's not gold, but you see some gold kind of shimmering in. Let's check on our stripes, see how they're drying. Oh yeah, I can put some pearlescent over that. I don't want to mess up anything I've done so far to this drawer. Alright, so now we're here, and we're going to go, some of that seemed a little wet. I'm going to hit it with the heat gun. I don't normally use a heat gun. I feel like it's always better to let things dry naturally, but this is live, so let's kind of hit it a little bit. Got paper flying from my tabletop here. With a heat gun, I like to keep it moving because you can strip paint with a heat gun. And I have accidentally made my paint bubble and had to repaint it. That wasn't fun. Alright, so let's go to the pearlescent glaze. Let's see how, yep, that's better. This is just going to kind of give it some shimmer. It's not going to change the color of the Rebel Yellow. Just going to make it a shimmer. Sometimes I'll even add, if it's a solid color, on a chest of drawers or dresser, I'll just use this striping method and some pearlescent glaze to add a little bit of detail to the sides. could have easily done like a green. I had thought about using the Gulf, that color of the Gulf, for the drawers, for the inside of the drawers, because that would have been a nice color that matched. But I decided to go with Rebel Yellow. Do I slick stick the hardware? Absolutely. I use White Lightning, depending on the grind. A lot of times I will pick up hardware at estate sales, yard sales, and sometimes they're in kitchen cabinets, cabinet door pulls, so you know they're going to be extra grimy. I will let them soak with White Lightning. I will let them soak with vinegar, depending on how grimy they are. And then I will slick stick it. And depending on how grimy they are, I might actually slip boss it. And then I paint. That's a good question. The color on the outside of my piece is I wanted it to look like grass growing in the sun in the summertime. So it is, the top is like paint and sea glass. Then it's kind of blended into farmhouse green, which made it yellow. It wasn't actually yellow. And then the farmhouse green to the antebellum. It was kind of a nice surprise. Anytime that I slick stick something or ball something, I at least let it sit overnight. Sometimes things surprise you. Like I was kind of worried I didn't boss the sides of the drawers because they looked like they were okay. And, you know, because I try to let things cure for a little while, I'll go back in a couple of weeks and see if I've got any bleed through. And if I do, I'm just going to slick stick that section. Boss that section. And then paint over it with Rebel Yellow. Normally, I always say a stitch in time saves 9. But to me, this didn't look like it was a bleeder, the sides. And so I think I'm going to be okay. Alright, so we've got our pearlescent glaze. Again, it's not going to change the color. Just going to add a little bit of shimmer. So let's see if we can't see it. Normally I let it dry for a minute before I take the tape off. But we'll see. Just go on the floor, right? That doesn't want to come up. I guess I'm babying it because I know that my stripes are still wet. I did just take them. Look at that. You have to touch that up. Sometimes that happens when you tape it off. And I even slick stick it stick it, but I think I'm just in such a rush that messed up right there. So let me get my plate over the yellow. And this is definitely pressed wood up underneath. It's almost kind of paint like cardboard. Alright, so let's look at the difference of the pearlescent stripes. Again, I haven't moved all the tape, but I have, let's see, that side over there, and you can kind of see how it's going to shimmer a little bit. So we'll just kind of work on removing the rest of the tape. Kind of digging it. And so we worked on the doorknobs a little bit. We added some shimmer to them. We added some pearlescent stripes. We did the gold mousse on the sides. I like the mousse for the silkscreen stencils. And then for the hardware, normally I'm going to use the wax. You can use the mousse. Just find it easier. But it really is personal preference. They are identical and in color. Like I have used them on the outside of both the dressers, the golden gem mousse and the gold gilding wax on the outside of a dresser, and they were the exact same color. That's what I like about Dixie Belle. And if you've ever noticed that their rose on the floral stencil is actually almost the same rose on the palette wood, on the palette decoupage paper. And so, I mean, it just all coordinates so beautifully together. Oh. Let's try to right up here. My last stripe, I struggled to paint it, so it's coming off in like little layers. I mean, I struggled to tape it on. Had to use lots of little pieces of tape. Here we go. I got some more cardboard. So press wood, I should call it. Alright, so there's my stripes. And again, the pearlescent just kind of added some shimmer. We've got the golden, the mousse on the side, and the shimmer. And that's it. Thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it. And y'all have a great evening, okay? Thanks.